Hello, wherever you are in the world, welcome to another episode of Tag1 TeamTalks, the webinar and podcast series about emerging web technologies. I'm your host, Preston So. I'm the editor-in-chief at Tag1 Consulting and the author of Decoupled Drupal in Practice. Today's topic is of a huge amount of interest in the Drupal community right now, and it's of personal interest to me as well, because I'm very excited about theme development and about themes in Drupal. Today we're talking about the new Claro administration theme in Drupal 8. And joining me today are my dear friends, Cristina Chumillas, based in Barcelona, front-end developer at Lullabot. Cristina is a front-end developer and designer, or what some people call front-end designer or UI developer. Too many names these days for these titles. She works as a front-end developer at Lullabot. And Cristina is a Drupal core usability maintainer, co-organizer of the Drupal Admin UI and JavaScript Modernization initiative, an initiative I care a lot about and love to see work from, and front-end track chair for DrupalCon Europe as well. We're also joined by two mainstays here on the program, Fabian Franz in Switzerland, senior technical architect and performance lead at Tag1. Fabian's one of the 5 Drupal 7 core branch maintainers. He's also one of the top 50 contributors to Drupal 8. And maintainer for several Drupal 8 core subsystems like BigPipe, Dynamic Page Cache, and Theme API. Chances are, if you're in Drupal 8, you've touched something Fabian's worked on. And finally, we're joined by my friend here, actually in New York, Michael Myers, Managing Director of Tag1. And by the way, just before we get started, this is about one of the Drupal 8 core strategic initiatives. So we are very excited to talk more about this topic. And if you want to check out some of our past talks and some of our previous webinars and podcasts, go to tag1.com/tagteamtalks. And if you like this talk, please remember to upvote, subscribe, and share it with your family and friends, your grandma, your grandpa, and your grandkids too. Alrighty, and before we get started, I want to make sure to give a little bit of background on Tag1, and here to do that is Michael Myers.
Thanks, Preston, Cristina, Fabian. Really appreciate you guys joining us. Tag1 is the #2 all-time contributor to Drupal. We work with a lot of other technologies, but are definitely pioneering the Drupal platform. And one of our goals with these talks is to cover the future of Drupal, where the platform's going. And Claro is one of the, around 10 strategic initiatives that the Drupal community has established. So it's critically important to the future of Drupal's ability to compete in the CMS marketplace. And we want to do more talks on this topic. So, please let us know if there are other initiatives that we should prioritize. We're going to work our way through all of them and give everybody updates. We recently did a talk on the Drupal Auto Updater. So as Preston mentioned, check out the tag1.com, Tag1 TeamTalks link if you want to check that out. It's also on YouTube and Apple Podcasts and all that good stuff. And we help develop and sponsor that initiative along with folks like the European Commission. So please check out that talk. And Cristina, Fabian, Preston, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Michael. And just to go ahead and kick things off, hey, Cristina, one of the things that I'm really curious about is of the main topic for today, Claro. What exactly is Claro? When and how did it come about? And one point of clarification, the Admin UI and JavaScript initiative and Claro, are those part of the same initiative or two separate things?
You're nailing it. That's a key question. So Claro is a part of the Admin UI Modernization initiative. It actually started as 2 different initiatives, and we ended up joining forces because the goals were the same, which were mainly modernizing the Admin UI. Claro was a result of several UX studies and a lot of feedback from both marketers and people that is selling Drupal, and also from several surveys that came up. And yeah, I would say Claro itself, it's not like an initiative, and it's more and more becoming something so huge that we might need that. Ended up talking about several initiatives, but maybe it's a spoiler, and I might talk about that later in the interview.
Sure, and Claro is one of those things that's very exciting, and I think it's a really important inflection point in Drupal's ability to serve all of the users that we're serving. is how did the discussion around Claro start in terms of those UX studies that you mentioned? What were some of the results from the usability studies, and what did they show?
So I would say Claro, or the UI part of the initiative itself, probably started around 2016. Actually, on DrupalCon New Orleans, several of us had several conversations about the need of refreshing the UI, and it actually ended up being Umami, and the new, it had to be the new theme, front-end theme, and ended up being a whole profile for testing Drupal. And actually, the real kickoff for the UI refresh started on Vienna, with several people involved in these first conversations, and we joined forces, several BOFs and design sprint during the sprints on Vienna. And also it happened that at the same time in Vienna, there was also happening the kickoff of the JavaScript modernization initiative, which goal was actually going to replace the UI also, but with JavaScript and refreshing all the JavaScript. So actually we ended up, well, we discussed a lot of things, and we ended up joining forces for Frontend United. I think it was 2018 or something like that. Anyway, we ended up joining forces, and then we had to establish goals together, which was really difficult, because the moment that you're talking about replacing the whole UI with JavaScript, and also on the other side, talking about redesigning the UI, you have to set goals and set limits and timelines, and that was really, really challenging. And because of the first, we started with several tests with the Drupal community. Actually, we started with a survey. I think more than 300 people participated on this survey, and several, there was a lot of points made there, but one of the clearer ones was that the UI looked outdated. I mean, 7 was a great design by the time that it was made, but probably the moment the survey was made, it probably had like 8 or 10 years. I'm not really sure. So it needed a refresh also. Not only the design itself, but also some patterns there. So like, for example, some things that also people complained was the complexity, like of interfaces, like with a lot of paragraphs and paragraphs inside paragraphs, and some problems with lists. There were several feedbacks in there that we kind of tried to put or involve in the whole initiative itself, but it was clear that redesign was needed. So that was actually one of the first goals, redesigning the UI, and that's where Claro actually appeared as a thing, which is the first, the easier way to get redesign.
Do you also have some kind of technical goals, for example, to embrace component-based design, or to embrace, besides JavaScript, to embrace a fully decoupled way, or is there like any technological goals you have set yourself besides the UX goals?
I can't really talk that much about the JavaScript side, because I was involved in some conversations, but I really wasn't aware of the goals set there. What I remember is that there are some constraints at the moment that you want to completely replace a UI with JavaScript, and that's what we had to deal with, because we couldn't completely replace everything, because we were losing a lot of parts from the Drupal frontend. It's still important for us.
And I want to dig more into the Claro design itself and really talk about how that came to be. But since Fabian mentioned some of the technical goals, I'm curious, what were some of the other overarching goals? Were there particular outcomes in mind when it came to new users in Drupal or in terms of certain personas? I'm kind of curious, what were you trying to accomplish as part of this amazing work on Claro?
That's a really good point, because actually one of the other outcomes from these initial surveys was that we have this kind of hybrid user in Drupal, which is the site builder, which it's not, it doesn't exist in other walls, and it ended up like being a super admin for a web administrator, and it usually have a lot of permissions. And the thing is that the final user, the person that is going to spend 8 hours per day as its main goal, which is going to be creating content on Drupal, is going to use exactly the same tools as a site builder. And we're talking about using the management or the admin menu, which actually has the structure and the content tabs on the top, and later after that some stuff inside configuration, and then how do you deal with permissions to access some menu items, and some of them not giving access to them. So the structure, the information structure was also a little bit confusing for content authors. So that's actually one of the other things that we found during these initial tests. And we ended up trying to focus or work on the content authors and trying to work towards them. And one of initially, one of the goals was also trying to create a new menu for content authors and replacing that for this new role, and actually adding a new role that it's called editor or content editor, I think, or content author. I don't remember. It's on Drupal.org. I can send you. It's on the ideas queue, and it's actually one of the goals that we still have to create a better experience for content authors. But with the time, with the months after working with Claro, we realized that it's a really nice and cool idea to try to have a better experience for content authors, but we can't forget the site builder experience, like, for example, views UI and paragraphs, and well, paragraphs, it's more something for authors, but I don't know, the modules page or this kind of things, we can't forget that either. So we're trying to give a solution for both.
I love the thinking around all of the personas, and I think you really are right in saying that Drupal really is unique in the fact that we have to deal with these site builder folks as well, who have a very different set of requirements, a very different set of pathways they go down within the Drupal interface. And it's amazing how much thought you and the team have given to this. Now to talk about some of the inspiration behind Claro, I'm kind of curious, did you look at some of the other CMSs that exist in the wild in terms of taking inspiration? Did you look at WordPress or look at some of the newer CMSs that have been emerging? Is there any inspiration or sort of model that you're kind of following with the Claro thing?
So yeah, so at the beginning, like I would say 1 year ago or something like that, because we were thinking mainly on content authors, and we were saying, oh, ideally for a content author, you should have like a drag and drop interface, something super cool. And if you think a little bit about that, it's super Gutenberg-like. And we were working towards an interface that was super close to Gutenberg, and we were getting some inspiration from there. But the real wall in Drupal is that you can't actually replace the whole admin interface like this and forget about the whole thing behind it. And it wasn't that easy. Just using a JavaScript layer that will replace everything. So we had to do a step back and think again about what were the actual and realistic technical options that we had. And also, if you might know, there were some issues with accessibility and Gutenberg. I'm not really aware how it's right now, but we kind of thought that the best way of trying to give something soon to people was actually starting with a classic admin theme, a classic theme, instead of going for the couple or something like that. And that's actually one of the goals that we also, one of the needs that we saw on the surveys, because there was an urgent need to at least refresh the UI, at least the colors or something like that. That's why we ended up having Claro as a part of the initiative, which is basically a clone of 7 with just the colors changed. I mean, it's not like that. Obviously, we've been a lot of months, several people working on that, but that was the switch that we made from just reinventing the wheel for Drupal to something that was more realistic and achievable to replace the current UI. And that's where Claro came. And the good part of it is that we can ship Claro, you can use Claro, and it's still stable and usable because it still has all the styles that 7 have. So it might look with a different gray, or it might not look like gray, but it's still useful. So that's the goal behind it.
One quick question, because I don't know, and others might also not know, what's the current state of Claro kind of like? Where are you basically in when 100% is like finished and 0% is just the planning phase? Like, where are you kind of like in progress in this initiative?
That's a really tricky question. I mean, I could say we are just after we are on the beta phase. We got into Drupal core on 8.8, and because we reached the beta, and we probably, or at least on the next release or in 2 releases at most, we will be stable. So Claro is perfectly usable. There are several sites in production already using it, so it's usable. As I was saying, Claro is based on 7, so if you use 7 on your admin interface, you can use Claro. But the thing that we are seeing right now is that it's what I was mentioning earlier, is that we want to change a lot of interfaces. So, for example, Views UI, we really want to change that, but putting all these efforts inside the Claro and saying Claro is not going to be done because we haven't redesigned the whole Views UI, it's like, okay, this initiative is never going to end. So that's the key point here. I mean, Claro probably it's going to be considered finished the moment that we have replaced everything that goes in 7 and it works. And from there, several initiatives are going to start from there. And that's a key part, because we can have an initiative that it's called Admin UI Refresh and put everything in there under that umbrella, because we are not going to end up, I don't know, in 5 years. I mean, we'll always find something new to renew. So that's probably the key point.
I think that's a great strategy. I've also learned in the hard way, basically, that iterative initiatives and iterative changes work best with core. Like introduce something, add something new, and slowly improve and some point you're finished, amazingly. But yeah, that works way better than we have to redo everything first, and that's so hard.
Exactly. Yeah, because we actually ended up talking about creating a new user role with its own menu, and maybe some people were talking about even a dashboard for content authors with predefined blocks. And what about changing the whole layout because we are just working with a layout designed some years ago. And what about Views UI? What about the modules page? What about, I don't know, there are so many parts on the Admin UI that will need a whole initiative by themselves that I think it's smarter.
I perfectly know. I mean, even just converting all of those templates from the old engine to Trick, it was a tremendous amount of work, and it was basically just mainly copying things and putting it to a new language, and it still took for quite a long time. So I can't even imagine the effort you need to do kind of to build something new which is stable and etc. So huge props to that initiative.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to return to the topic of the scope of the initiative, and because I'm very interested in how you managed to keep things really tight. But first, about the design. How did design come to be, and what were some of the goals there?
So actually, the design started almost at the beginning, and we had it super clear that it had to look different from 7. So the first time that you get into a page with Claro, you should be able to see the difference with 7. But we couldn't change the main colors, and we couldn't go to a dark interface, or we couldn't go to start using red because, you know, it's not Drupal's colors, or green or gray. So we ended up trying to look for more light and vivid colors for Claro, and we started to get inspiration from, for example, material design and a lot of other design system that you can find anywhere on the internet, because we actually didn't want to reinvent the wheel with the design either, because what you actually want on an admin interface is something that works and that people understand. So we didn't want to go crazy with fancy buttons and fancy field sets. Actually, we tried to go a little bit crazy at the beginning with the fields, and the moment that you focused on the field, the outline was changed the color, and then a line came there, and it was like, no, stop. On the first accessibility review, they said, okay, it looks fancy, but people are going to not everybody is going to get used to it. It's not good for everybody, so let's just go to the basics. And that's where we went. So together with trying to be different from what it was there on a colors perspective, but trying to keep use known patterns for everything, that's when we ended up trying to look for a lighter interface and a brighter blue. That it actually started being a super neon and bright blue, and we ended up making it a little bit more dark by the time passed, especially to comply with accessibility standards and so on. But after that, most of the elements just came together. We based a lot of our designs on other designs that are already there that probably have been based on other designs. So we try to keep a focus on known patterns, and that's most of it.
So one quick question, will there be a dark mode supported?
Maybe that could be another initiative. So there are designs for that. Actually, Sasha's super excited about that, and I really think it's a cool, and actually I think it's a needed feature, but it's not on the MVP. So I would say probably it might start being a contrib thing first, and with the time it might end up for being part of core, because it's not that we've been asked for having a dark mode only. People is actually, I'm not sure if you've seen that on the IBSQ, but there's an idea that was actually asking to remove the colors module from Drupal core. And it triggered a discussion about people wanting to kind of customize the colors or the interface for each client. And the problem is that giving the color module is giving too much of control for people that doesn't have enough knowledge. So it's not just about the dark mode. It's about also Claro. It's about colors. Another feedback that we've had about Claro is that we're adding a lot of space between elements, and there's people that want to have stuff more compacted, and that's another thing that people will like to customize. And also font sizes. So we have like a set of several things that people would like to customize, and we have to decide if some of them needs to go on under the theme personalization or a user personalization side, and it's like a whole discussion. Maybe it's another.
Yeah, the big problem with color module obviously is accessibility, because you can make totally inaccessible things with it with ease.
Exactly. One of the things that we did with Claro is trying to make most of the fonts bigger. And one of the first feedback that we've got is like, okay, that's great, but I want my fonts smaller. And it's like, yeah, but smaller than that, it's not accessible compliant. So you have to end up giving people the tools that they need. So I think it makes sense to have like an evolution where you can customize some parts of the thing.
And just to jump into accessibility even further, because I think this is a very interesting topic to a lot of our audience. Besides things like font sizes, color contrast, all of the things that we know are very important for accessibility outcomes, what other considerations or concerns did you have about accessibility, and how did you address those during the process?
So that's a really good point. We thought that we were doing it right. We started having, on the design side, we started doing some research, some stuff that we read on the internet, and we thought that we were doing it properly. And until a few months of work, we didn't reach to Andrew McPherson, one of the accessibility maintainers. And when he saw the design, it was like, nice, but here's a huge list of things that you have to change. One of them actually being that field that we were designing super fancy. So we had to change a little bit some things. And the main problem there is that we were trying to have someone reviewing designs, and they weren't already implemented, so you can't actually use the same tool. So it wasn't easy to give someone some PNGs or PDFs, so it wasn't easy for them, for Andrew or other people to review the accessibility. And the moment that we went, because we started developing on GitHub, and the moment that we go back to Drupal.org and having Claro as a contrib theme to people, to let people to give credit to users that were actually contributing. So the moment that we had that in Drupal core, a lot of other people came and helped us with accessibility reviews, and we realized that we didn't did enough. So before going into beta, we had a bunch of accessibility issues that we had to solve. And we still have some things, but if I would say we've had like 4 or more rounds of accessibility reviews, which is great. And of course, we still need to work on that. I think that will be a thing that we'll be doing forever to be sure everything works fine.
Absolutely. And one of the things I wanted to ask, in addition to that, is, before we get into some of the more innovative and really unique aspects of Claro, how did you keep the design scoped? One of the things that we know, working in design and UX is that things have a tendency to get out of control. You mentioned earlier, just a few moments ago, that it was very challenging to deal with a lot of the feedback of people coming in saying, let's do this and this and this and this too. From an operational or logistical or project management standpoint, how easy or how hard was it to manage that kind of feedback? And what did you do to keep the scope tight?
Okay, I guess the easier way, just not having enough resources to go crazy. I think that's a key point that actually... That's the best way to actually not having enough people to go to do all the work, and also having a tight release date, because we needed to have Claro for 8.8, because otherwise it was too late to get Claro as stable for 8.9 or 9. So that was the main point that we followed. So we ended up creating like a list of components that were needed to be migrated. And even though there were some of them that just kept existing with 7 styles, they are usable still now. So we tried to define a line and just focus the design on that things, and not going crazy with crazy ideas that it's really cool to think about new interfaces and new layouts and new everything, but the first thing first, and we need to finish the MVP.
I definitely understand that, and it's wonderful to see that it's available for everyone to use, and I've seen it a lot actually already, and so that brings us to kind of the more innovative or really cutting edge parts, which we've already talked a little bit about, but I wanted to ask, what does Claro do better, and how is it pushing the envelope of not only Drupal's front end, but also front end in general?
So the good part of now that we have, well, especially when it was contrib, but now that it's in Drupal core, it's also really good, is that there are a lot of things that nobody wanted to get into changing when we had 7 in there, because it was just getting into something too difficult, and that you were probably changing this, and because you were changing this, you had to touch that, and you ended up like with 10 related issues. So I would say, I don't know. I think I lost a little bit the question that you were asking, actually.
Sure, yeah, no problem. I guess, what makes Claro unique? Are there things that make it really distinctive compared to other admin interfaces or themes? What are some of the things that really, kind of call out to people who are looking at it?
No, I know why I got lost. So basically, the thing is that I was saying that because a lot of things that Claro has changed is that there were several needs, the UI that were just relying on old components, like for example the field and the image widget, for example, with a drag and drop, or For example, the widget, the component for the image and the file widgets for the Admin UI weren't even finished for 7. So Claro was able to make that work. And like, for example, the dropdown, thanks to Claro, well, not thanks to Claro, but we kind of came several people wanting to have something similar to a drop-down or something like that for similar to Chosen or something like that. And the discussion started related to accessibility and everything related to that. So it's pushing a lot of things that are around on the web already, and that Drupal, the Drupal's admin interface was just getting stuck on the classic components that 7 was giving. So I would say it's a chance to modernize the interface and getting in a lot of common patterns that are around the web that make life easier for users. And I would say also for front-end developers, one of the key things, me as being a front-end developer, is the post CSS change. We don't work on plain, so we decided not to use SAS, preprocessor, and we go for post CSS, which let us use the last fancy stuff on CSS like variables and these kind of things. And with post CSS, we just process that and just get regular CSS, and that's great because we are just writing on CSS and it will be compatible in the future.
So for some of the audience that's a little less familiar with post CSS, because I find post CSS very interesting as a project and as an approach, why did you move over to post CSS? What were some of the advantages you gained from going over to post CSS?
So for someone that has been around on the front-end development will know for sure that SAS is giving a lot of stuff that plain CSS was not giving some years ago. So preprocessors like SAS were really useful. But with the time, with the new things that have been integrated into CSS3 and all the new things that are coming to the browsers and new browsers, and we're not going to talk about Internet Explorer, but all the new browsers and so on, they get regular updates and they get the new specifications into the browser super fast. So, well, super fast compared to some years ago. So it means that you can have several things on the new browsers, like variables and some stuff like, well, it actually makes your life easier as SAS will make, but instead of the need of having a preprocessor, a post-processor, what does is you write modern CSS, and a post-processor, what it does, it gives you, for example, prefixes for all browsers. It changes variables into the proper codes and everything. So it converts the modern CSS that you're writing into something that it's more Internet Explorer friendly.
I love the reference to Internet Explorer. Still, you know, even though we gave Internet Explorer or IE6 a funeral, there's still a lot of work around making sure that it's a modern browser.
Yeah, especially if we are working with big companies, with governments and so on, you can't just get rid of Internet Explorer. It's still there, either we want it or not, so we need to take care of it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I sometimes think of post CSS as like a little bridge from the old to the new world, in that there's also in the JavaScript often called a shim, and which allowed many of the modern JavaScript things with Babel, where you could use the new language with the old JavaScript, kind of like right now. And also for web components, a lot of the time you had like shims where you could use it even if the browser didn't support it, and that's basically post CSS. For CSS, for me, it also does some other things, but that's kind of my high-level explanation of how I like to think about it.
Yes, it's incredibly exciting, and I'm going to be looking to see some of the ways in which. Well, I'm curious about some of the browser prefixes that y'all have chosen, and how you're using post CSS and things of that nature. I'm going to look later on.
That's a really interesting world. You have a lot of plugins for post CSS. You have a lot of ways of dealing it, and it's really challenging to actually choose the stack that you prefer. But I really like it.
Yeah. Well, we've got only a little bit of time left, and it's incredible that we've talked about some of the really interesting features of Claro that I find. What are some of the? Now let's talk about some of the gaps. What are some of the improvements that you want to see with Claro and Drupal's admin in general? And what does the roadmap look like? Let's start with the improvements that you want to see first.
Probably I would say the one that I have more in mind is the layout, the general layouts that we can have on an admin page for any form or whatever. Because who hasn't wanted to create a node edit form and place something on the sidebar on the right? I mean, it's not crazy. It's basic needs. So I would say something like that could be like next steps and something that could give me some more flexibility depending on the content that you are actually working with, because it's not the same as having an edit form with a node with 1 or 2 fields as having a node with, I don't know, 40 fields or something like that. And actually who has to decide that is the site builder, not the Drupal community deciding what a node should look like. So I would say that's one of the most exciting parts and one of the basic things that should come, or the most urgent things, I would say. And also, I don't know, something related with changing appearance, and of course other small things is like changing views UI, for example. Thinking again on the extend page, the modules page, but also the permissions page, which is crazy. There was an attempt some years ago of doing so, but it didn't move forward because it was so much work. And I don't know, there are a lot of UIs that would ideally become independent initiatives. So if anybody would like to do so, there's the ideas page on Drupal.org. Feel free to go there and check for ideas in there, because usually every initiative starts there as an idea. And from there, several people just say, I'm interested in that. Okay, let's go, because we are 10 people. Let's go and try to make that something real. So I would say probably several of that needs are going to end up being on different initiatives. So if anybody wants to get involved, just keep on that. And yeah, I would say that's the first step, just breaking a little bit the needs that the UI needs. And from there, I don't know, let's see how we can make a reality the JavaScript side and all these things.
Wonderful. And we talked about some of the key features of the roadmap, some of the ideas around layout customization and views UI, obviously, which are definitely not small things, as we've admitted. What is your vision? I mean, I know that this is a community-led effort, and there's a lot of people who are involved, a lot of ideas. But you personally must have a vision or some dream state that you want to end up in. Can you, because I love to talk about kind of, where people are dreaming and where they want to end up, even though it's not realistic sometimes. What is your kind of dream vision for Claro and all of the Drupal admin interface?
So probably I would separate Claro from the whole admin UI modernization, because Claro is more like focused on renewing what is in there. And now that when we have this theme already working, then we can focus on the rest of the themes, or the things that are going to need. So for example, if we are able to make Claro stable for the next release, we can say, hi, let's see, we have Claro done. Now let's start with the views UI. And the views UI is going to use the Claro components and look and feel. So it means that it's going to be just the base, the basic thing that people is going to use. And ideally, it's just going to be some colors in the future. When you go into the past, it's just going to be like changing the colors to the UI, and the great things that are going to come are going to be good enough to forget about the huge effort, not forget, but to see as this huge effort as a basic thing that people build stuff over it. Because I think Drupal is like the perfect place to do a lot of things on a UI perspective. And I would really like to see this UI changing like substantially, like not only the layout on like saying 2 columns, 3 columns or something like that. Also with new JavaScript fancy things that you can see anywhere on the web, probably not going that far as Gutenberg with a node edit form, because we have other problems, well, not problems, other strengths in Drupal, which is modulated content, like structured content. You can't have Gutenberg-like UI if you have a node where you have always like 5 fields. It doesn't make any sense to have drag and drop there. So probably having several ways of editing content or something like that. So I don't know, just experiencing with new UIs and ways of interacting with content. I would really like to see how it ends up being, because that's the key, because Drupal is going to, it is a content management system. It's not a front-end system, or not the whole thing itself. I mean, the key part on something. So
absolutely.
Intelligent layout builder.
Intelligent layout builder. Yeah, let's get the layout team to build this. So we're running out of time here, Christina, but just to end with a call to action. People around the community are obviously very interested in contributing to the Admin UI initiative and also to Claro. How can people get involved? What would be the way to get started with helping out and making a mark on Drupal's design?
So there are several channels where, so basically all the conversations usually happen on Drupal's Slack channel. There are different channels. For example, for the design, it's the Admin UI design channel. And for the whole admin initiative, we have the Admin UI channel. And there's also the JavaScript channel, which is more focused on the modernization. Well, it's in general for JavaScript related to Drupal, but also some of the conversations about the Admin UI refresh happened there a while ago. So I would say these 3 channels are the main ones to directly speaking with people online. I would say for Drupal.org and getting into work, Claro has its own component where you look for issues on Drupal.org for the Drupal project itself. for Drupal core, you can filter by Claro component or Claro theme, I think it's called. And a part of that, feel free to contact any of us, like me, Lauri, or whoever is involved in the initiative. There's always a lot of people on the channels, and of course, to any event we are in, just come and say hi.
Wonderful. Well, as we have heard today, Claro is really changing the way that the Drupal admin UI looks and feels. I'm very excited to be seeing it a lot more around all of my Drupal sites. And we've run out of time, but thank you so much for joining us today for this episode of Tag1 TeamTalks, the webinar and podcast series on emerging web technologies. By the way, we post all of these Tag Team Talks episode at tag1.com/tagteamtalks. All of the links that we talked about today, including the link to the Drupal.org page for the Claro module, including some of the Slack channels that we just mentioned, are going to be posted online with the talk. And of course, if you like this talk, if you're viewing us on YouTube, if you're seeing us on Reddit, if you're looking at us on Hacker News, please remember to upvote, subscribe, and share it with your friends and family, including your garbage man on the street, as well as any of your doormen or doorwomen or people who are working with you in your apartment building. Please make sure to share this video with them as well. And as always, we love your feedback. We love any topic suggestions. Please write to us at tag1consulting.com. I'd like to thank my friends today, Michael Myers, Fabian Franz, and Christina Tremias, for an amazing conversation about the Claro theme. Thank you, and until next time, goodbye.